everyone. And today I want to introduce myself. My name is Carolyn Peterson, and I'm a consultant with the Washington State Library. And my co-facilitator for this series of continuing educations is Jennifer Fenton, and she is with us today in the room. If you have any problems, today Jan is away at doing some training, but Jeremy is here. And if you're having any issues with sound, or if things suddenly, you know, there's any disconnects or anything else, please copy down Jeremy's email or his phone number, and he will be the one to help you get back online or take care of whatever technical problems you might have. So we have to thank him for his support. Things go a lot better when he and Jan are here to help us get underway. So, again, we'd like to thank our funders. We are a division, a department of the Washington State Library, which is a division of the Secretary of State. And our program is funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which is a federal grant to the states, which we administer. And so this continuing education program is brought to you by those folks, and we hope that you would, if you have the opportunity, say a good word about them in the community, because they do provide this program. This program will be archived, so if your colleagues wanted to hear it, you can come back, and it will be up this afternoon, so people can listen to it at their leisure. But the advantage, of course, coming live is that you can ask questions as they occur to you, and if you'd like to type them in the chat window, then I will draw Linda's attention to them, because she is going to be the one that gives us, the program, and then I will help her as questions occur. And I should have asked Linda, is that all right if I say you have a question, or do you want to wait till the very end?
No, actually, I'd rather take questions in context. So as they come up, that's great.
Okay, that's what I will do. I will watch the chat, and I will alert you to what things come on. So we've already done this, but if you haven't, please type in the chat where you're from in your library, and we will be asking folks to do that as they come on board if they're a little late. So with no further ado, what's new at the Census Bureau? Linda, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you, Jeremy. It's nice to be able to reach a lot of people through this fairly new tool. I wanted to start by finding out how many of you have accessed census data in the last month, this year, 2012.
Okay. Do that by raising your hand. Do you see that? It's right underneath me, the moderator, the hand button. Okay. Let's see. So about 6 folks. Or no, 8. I can't tell if that's a 6 or 8. So about 6 of the people gathered here.
All right. Thank you. I realize that besides the normal challenges of census data, we've thrown people several curves over the last year. Our data access tool, American FactFinder, was totally redesigned in 2011 and launched about a year ago, a little over a year ago, in January of 2011. And now we keep pushing out enhancements based on the feedback that we've gotten from data users like yourselves. All of our tools are tested back at headquarters, but it's nothing like having the whole data user community from around the country. So I guess that would be my first plea to you is if you have feedback on how things operate, improvements you'd like to see, there is a feedback button, and we'd love to hear from you, because we're going to be pushing out enhancements to our data access tool quarterly now, and the last one just came out a little over a week ago. This is not meant to confuse people, but actually, as somebody who's doing presentations constantly, I can tell you it's pretty confusing to me sometimes, because we don't get advance warning of it, and it turns out that we, like you, sometimes have a hard time finding things that we were familiar with before. So This is the agenda that you're looking at right now. You're probably fairly aware, because of the work you do, of our recent data releases, but I just wanted to highlight the main ones from our decennial census from 2010 and American Community Survey. And then we're going to take a look at the home page, which is totally new as of the first week in January. That one has presented a few challenges. I'm still looking for some things I can't find. So, and I will have a couple of slides at the end where, when you have questions, you can call us or email us, and we'll get on it for you, trying to help you out there. Then we'll look at our data access tool, the new American FactFinder, which is the only American FactFinder now. We ran a parallel system throughout 2011 with the old system, which we called Legacy, and the new one. And now the old one is completely gone. So we are totally working with the new one, for better or worse. It has a lot more functionality than the old one did, and I think now that we're kind of forced into using it, I think we'll be more aware of the changes as they come out. And again, these are things that are suggested by you all, so I appreciate that. The last thing we'll do, I wrote a little exercise just to illustrate how you use the new American FactFinder, walking you through one exercise step by step using American Community Survey data. So let us move on here, and we'll look first at the 2010 census data files, what's been released. And I apologize for how wordy this particular slide is. I generally don't do slides like this, but I wanted to point out the differences in these three electronic files. The redistricting file, of course, is always the first one that comes out. We have two legal mandates as far as release of census data. The first one is getting the population counts by state to the President by the end of the census year. So that's always due by December 31st of the year ending in 0, and we usually deliver it about a week before. Based on those counts, which are called apportionment counts, and all it is a simple population count of every state. That determines which states will gain seats in the House of Representatives, which states will lose seats, and which states will remain the same. And I'm sure you're all aware that Washington gained another seat as a result of the 2010 census. So now we have 10 congressional districts for the 113th Congress, which will begin January 1st next year after the election. And then we put out the first file that's listed here, the redistricting file. And that is due to the highest elected official, generally the governor, of each state and the District of Columbia by April 1st, the year after the census, so the year ending in 1. And that gives totals by race and ethnicity down to the block level, which is the lowest level of geography at which we ever release data. And that's only from the census that we do that, down to the block level. Then we released Summary File 1, which has more cross-tabulations of data and more of the questions that were asked on the census other than race and ethnicity and the population 18 years or over, which we do for the redistricting file. It's called the voting age file for obvious reasons. So Summary File 1 gives us household relationships, whether or not the housing units are vacant or occupied, and also sex. We have family information on that file as well. And these are released state by state, and they were all out by August 25th of last year. Now, the exciting news is Summary File 2, and Summary File 1, by the way, also goes down to the block level. Summary File 2, the lowest level, is the census tract level, and it is really iterations by race and ethnicity, some detailed groups, some write-in answers for the questions that have been asked on the census. So we don't have the geographic detail that we have on the other two, but we have richer detail in terms of topics. And I've got listed here the number of groups that we iterate to on this. So this Thursday, we will have Washington State release. So that's exciting. Looking forward to that. And then getting into the American Community Survey. As you probably are all aware, we put out 3 products every year, and they're driven by population thresholds. And what we call the 2010 products have all been released in 2011. The 2011 products will be out this fall and winter. So the 1-year estimates, which have a population threshold of 65,000 people, will be out in September 2012. The 3-year estimates, which span the term 2009 to 2011, will be out in October, and the 5-year estimates out in December. The 3-year estimates are for any of our geographic areas that are 20,000 or more people. And again, I told you the 1-year was 65,000 or more people. And the 5-year estimates then would be census tracts and block groups, all of them. Any counties or cities that don't meet the 20,000 threshold. And this year, for the first time, we will see the zip code tabulation areas finally. So they will be out for the first time this year, and then next year, of course, we'll have them out again. So took a while to get those tabulations done by zip code tabulation area. And we call those VCTAs, or zip code tabulation areas, ZICTAs, and they approximate the Postal Service zip codes. Not entirely, but pretty much spot on. And because of some changes in rules, geographically speaking, they're closer to Postal Service zip codes than they used to be. Okay, this is a fuzzy look at our new home page because I can't get it all on one screen anymore, so you can't read it. But what I wanted to do here is give you positioning on the page of these simple searches that you can do right from the home page without going into American FactFinder. And I highly recommend to novice data users, and I wouldn't count you among that group, but certainly for you to pass on to some of your patrons, that they can find simple population numbers just from the home page, and I would encourage people to do that. 2 of these were on the old home page. The number 1, the quick facts, they're on the left column now instead of the right column where they used to be. So the quick facts is that number 1, the top arrow, and the population finder is number 3, that bottom arrow. I will show you what they look like the next few slides. The interactive map is new from the home page. And other than this, I'm not going to cover the home page, but I'll be happy to talk to you later about doing workshops at your specific library and really getting into some of this in depth. My goal today is really to, in American FactFinder, take you through the logic of the new American FactFinder. It's a bit different from the logic in the old one. It's not rocket science, as you know, but it's got a lot of moving parts, and that tends to confuse people. So I have shown you up at the top, there's one thing that's missing from the new home page, and that's a direct link to American FactFinder. My sense is that headquarters is getting enough input about this that may change. But right now you have to open that drop-down menu that is headed with the word data, and I know it's hard to read, but and I've just shown you by a red box up there at the top that one of the choices in that menu is American FactFinder. Okay, if you clicked on Quick Facts from the home page, and actually to do that, I'm going to go back and show you. There is a box there that is a drop-down menu. You put in a state name, and here I put in Alaska, and then up at the top you can see that you have select a county or select a city, and I selected the city Anchorage. And so what appears now is data on the city of Anchorage in one column and the state of Alaska side by side. The default would be the state next to the United States. But Quick Facts not only has population information, it also has business facts that come from our economic census and our survey of business owners. So it's really a hybrid product and pretty handy. And you'll see to the left of the rows a blue circle that has a little I in it in italics, and that is the information icon. And each data row, you can click on that I and get the source of the data. So that's good. This has recently been updated, so it does have the current population number in it from the 2010 census. When you see a span of numbers, like down at the bottom of the screen, language other than English spoken at home, 2000, let's see, I can't read that, 5 to 2009, I believe is what that says. That's a 5-year estimate, and you know right away it's from American Community Survey. As we get further and further away from the census year, what we'll have up here, instead of the source being the 2010 census, the source will be the Population Estimates Program, which is done in all the intercensal years. So you'll have a more current population figure. Okay, so that's Quick Facts from the home page. This is the interactive map feature that's new. And you can click on a state. Here I clicked on Alaska on the left graphic, and on the right side it pulled up the state of Alaska, and I focused in on the Mat-Su Valley there. And again, I know it's not legible, but I just wanted to show you the kind of thing that's available. We're all about data visualization now. You're going to see more available through American FactFinder once we get there. Those enhancements are not out yet, but you will be able to make, I understand, we are promised that you will be able to make bar graphs and various charts. Not there yet, but it's in the plans for another enhancement. So, and I believe that will be this year. Okay, so that's the interactive map. And then the last item available from the home page is the Population Finder. And here again I've selected Alaska, and what comes up is actually the demographic profile from the 2010 census, which is an electronic summary file all its own. It only has one table in it. And if you went at it through American FactFinder, it would have a different format, but it is available from the home page in the Population Finder. And now in Population Finder, you have to meet the population threshold of 5,000 residents in order to be included. So here you can pick county, you can pick city or town, incorporated only, or you can pick congressional district, and that's over in the box below the state blocks. So again, pretty handy information, quickly accessible. Then, if we were looking at the new home page, we have a kind of clunky thing now that's the footer. And this is really the place that's very rich with data that was available on the old home page. And it's program pages, that is everything you want to know about American Community Survey. You used to be able to just go to a link that said American Community Survey, and you'd find guidance for data users, how to make comparisons, methodology, how we get American Community Survey, the modes of data collection, in other words, and a lot of information about it. Now you can come to the footer and actually go down the People and Households column, which is the fourth one, and click on American Community Survey. And that's how you'd get there. Here I've put boxes around 3 different items just to show you some, well, 2 special interest pages and 1 program, the government's program. So here, if I clicked on Publications, I wanted to show you how you can go online to find old census data that is not on American FactFinder. Right now, all we have loaded on American FactFinder are the 2010, the 2000, and I am promised that the 1990 is there. However, we're having a hard time finding it now, even by clicking Archive Products. So I've got a trouble ticket into headquarters about that for somebody who wrote me yesterday. And if any of you is interested in the 1990 census, please get in touch with me, and I'll let you know what I find out. But at any rate, what happened here is we took the books, and those of you who've been around for a while remember before we even had CD-ROMs and DVDs, and definitely before we were online with American FactFinder, we put out publications, and when people wanted census data, they had to go to these publications. What happened within the last 10 years is somebody at headquarters took those books apart and scanned. Not all the tables, but the ones that were the most requested. So how you find that is, and I'm going to back up because this is handy for answering reference questions. You go to the bottom of the second column, which is the Find Data column, and you click on Publications. And I have a box around it. And what comes up is this top left graphic. I've just cut off the first column, but you're going to click on Census of Population and Housing, and then that arrow points down to the listing of census years, which goes back to the 1790, and I clicked on the 1980 and got the bottom graphic, Volume 1, Characteristics of the Population, which I clicked on, or Volume 2, Subject Reports. There's not a lot of help connected with these. You've got to noodle around a little bit, little time consuming, but I think it's fairly rewarding when you're looking for old information. So when I clicked on Volume 1, I come to the top of this slide, top right, and the United States will come up first. And then you can scroll down. I think you see at the very bottom of that top graphic Alabama on the left and Michigan on the right. And I scrolled down until I found Washington. And this was the listing. Chapters A, B, C, Chapter D, Section 1, Chapter D, Section 2. And the top of the top right slide explains what A, B, C, D are. So anyway, that's something useful for you all if you haven't discovered it already. Okay, another handy thing to know about, because you're librarians, is our governments page. We do a census of governments every 5 years, the years ending in 2 and 7. And on this page, we've got a few surveys that we also do. And bottom right of the government's page, you'll see Guide to Data Collections from the U.S. Census Bureau. And the Public Library Survey, the State Library Agency Survey, and the Academic Library Survey are all linked there. And because that's your trade, I thought you'd be interested in seeing where they are. It is the Census Bureau that does those surveys. And lastly, from that footer, I clicked on the term poverty. And this is a program page. We don't have a survey we call poverty, but over on the right, we have something that's called Small Area Income and Poverty Estimates. And that's done every year. It's abbreviated SAIPE, S-A-I-P-E. And I wanted to point out that we do get poverty estimates of children by school district. And that's down to a fairly low level, considering it's, it's a survey that's national in scope, and the sample size is not huge. On the top left of the page, I put a box where these two red boxes there will link you to poverty definitions, how poverty is measured, and what survey you ought to use at what level of geography. All good information on this very, very important topic. Okay, getting into the new-ish American FactFinder, because it has been around for a year now. People would question whether the access is easier, but it definitely has a new look, and it definitely has some very handy new tools. And I will guarantee you the access is getting easier. So one caveat here on the new American FactFinder, which now we're just calling American FactFinder, we have some compatibility problems with some browsers. We at the Census Bureau do not support Safari or Google Chrome. So sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The recommended ones right now, and their versions are listed there, Internet Explorer 7 and Firefox 3.6. Our technical people are working at getting better response from other versions of those two particular browsers. But I've found this to be an issue, particularly in computer labs, where when all of us are trying to get at the same thing at the same time, we have terrific problems. That recommendation there, and I realize that you don't have the ability sometimes to load Firefox onto your computers, but at any rate, those are the recommendations. Okay, this is what the main page of American FactFinder looks like. So we're going to take a little tour here first before we get into the exercises. Up across the first blue bar under the American FactFinder logo with the magnifying glass, you see the word main, and I've got a box around it. Then search what we provide and use the American FactFinder. From the main tab, you always have this quick start box that appears in the middle of the frame where you can enter a topic or a table name, and notice the radio button below has topics highlighted. You also could put in a race or ethnic group, or you could put in an industry code on that left box. On the right side, you can put in a state, a county, or a place name. Place would be incorporated city or town or census designated place. And then click go. This quick start box is only available from that main tab. Also want to point out up at the top right, you have a feedback button, and that's where we want to hear from you. If you have a particular question and there isn't some immediate need to have it answered, you also can add your email address there and send it in, and you should get a response back within 48 hours, unless it's something that has to be researched extensively. But if you're in a big hurry and it's during office hours, please call or email us at the contact information I'll give you at the end. FAQs, the next item, a glossary, a really good glossary, I must say, and then help. And help does have an online user guide, but it also has a virtual tour and 9 tutorials. And those tutorials each only take between 3 and 5 minutes. I've done some search and navigation tips, which I mentioned are in your packets, although I'm not giving you packets today, but are based on those tutorials.
Okay, Linda, we have a question.
Yes.
And it says,
all right.
Judy asks, how do we know what the problem is? Sometimes you just can't find the information and you're not sure if it's you or the program.
I think my advice there is to give us a call if it's during business hours, and we'll get online with you and just go step by step. If it's a problem that you've identified that we don't know about, we will make a call to headquarters and try to get a fairly quick answer for you. Sometimes one thing that headquarters recommended when they pushed out the first version of the new American FactFinder is if you could, if you're using the feedback button, if you can remember the 2 steps or so before you hit the roadblock. If you remember what you were doing, now I'm not one who ever remembers what I was doing, so I understand that can be a problem, but you know, describe the situation as best you can. I realize that isolating the problem is part of the problem, you know, so I try to get on the phone with either me or Patty Farnham, and I'll give you her phone number. Okay. Moving on.
You're going to type
once
that
you
phone number in chat.
It's actually at the end of the slide.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, and can this PowerPoint be downloaded from your archive, or it's available just for viewing, right?
You can view it in the archive. Or I mean, as the archive,
okay.
But we can also PDF it as folks wish.
Okay, that's right. I asked you that yesterday, Jeremy. Thank you. Okay, so it'll be available on the archive. All right. You can barely see on this slide, before I leave the main page here of American FactFinder, the main tab, down the left side under a box that's called Your Selections, which is empty right now, you'll see some bars: topics, geographies, race and ethnic groups, and I think they've changed the headings on these from the pre-last week enhancements, but generally they're the same bars. The wording's changed a little bit. Topics, geographies, race and ethnic groups, and industry codes. And going to the next slide, I wanted to show you, I'm now on the Search tab. Notice that it's highlighted in gold. And we have the same 4 bars here: topics, geographies, race and ethnic groups, and industry codes. In other words, you can start filtering from either the main tab or the Search tab. And this new search page looks a bit different from the old one that displayed results actually before you'd made, they were default results before you filtered it all. Okay, so from this Search Results tab, once you start filtering, or at the beginning, you have a text box now where you can begin a search by entering a topic, and I use the word children there, or a table number if you're someone who knows what table you're looking for. This particular search box is not for geography. That's one caveat on that. It's either a topic, an industry code, a race group, or that covers it, or the actual table number. And now we're looking at a search results pane. This is a listing of tables that are available based on the filter that you've already put in. And Jeremy, if I can have you just kind of slide aside that toolbar to the left there that's covering up my Your Selection.
I turned it off for everyone else.
Oh, it's off. Okay, they can see.
It's only off for the moderators.
Okay, that's fine.
It's only off for the moderators.
Okay. Okay, so you can see that a selection has already been made there, and that's children, I believe. I can't read the whole word, but I think that's what it is. Okay, so based on that selection, there are all these tables listed, and you'll see over at the top right I have a blue box around a per page menu. The default is 25, it can be 50, or it can be 75, your choice. I generally open that to 75 right when I start because then you'll have a fewer number of pages. And the red underline there is under the blue bar that says search results. And that equals the number of data products or tables that are currently available before your filters are applied or as your filters are applied. The ones that are available there now are all pertaining to children because that's already in my Your Selections box. Okay. Within that selection, I have a text box there, search for, and that will further refine your selections. For instance, I could put in seniors or teenagers in there and see what I got. And that, of course, would lower the number of selections that were available because you're refining, you're drilling down. Again, on the right side of each row, you have an eye or an information icon. And in this case, if you want to know what a table will look like before you select it, it will pull up a table shell. It's just a little detour. It doesn't do anything to change the selections you've already made. So the available selections will change as you apply the filters. And as you apply the filters, they'll come up in your selections box, and then you'll make your final selection of the table you want from the list that's available there, and then view your result. So that's the process. You're refining, 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 and then you go to your result. This is the most important place on the page, the Your Selections box. All the filters that you choose have to somehow get moved up there, and that's the process that you go through when you're refining. Before you make your final selection of a data product or table, almost everything that's on there now is a table. I understand that census briefs will be put there and a few other kinds of products, but the lion's share are going to be tables. And for those who don't know, we don't have thematic maps pre-formatted now, and I'll get into that in a minute. So they will not be in your list of data products because you're going to make maps on the fly. You're going to decide what table you want to map. But at any rate, if your filter is not in the Your Selections box, it will not be applied. So very, very important. If that's all you remember, that's the most important thing. Okay, I have opened the Geographies bar or filter, and what comes up is a little overlay, and it lays over some results that are behind. And translucent, you can actually see through that gray bar, but you can't move this box once you get it open. It's just open or shut. And we have three options available on the Geography filter. You have a Name tab, which is the one that I've got boxed in red. You have an Address tab, and you have a Map tab. And from the Name tab, you can either use the Geography filter options down the left side, or you could type in a geography name in the text box and click Go. Okay, once you pick it in the text box, it will appear up in your Geography filters box, but it will not appear up in your Selections box until you select it from that Geography results pane, which is taking up most of this slide, but I've got it covered up with my boxes here. Then you select it there, and it will move up to the Your Selections box. And here you can see the person has selected Virginia and then Norfolk City, Virginia. And once it's up in the Your Selections box, you're done with this filter. After you verify it's there up in your selections, then you close the Geographies overlay. I want to show you what the next tab would look like. on the geography filters. This is the address tab where you can actually type in an address. Here I've used the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, City, Washington State, District of Columbia, which is the state equivalent, and the zip code. And actually you don't need the zip if you have the city and state, and conversely you don't need the city and state if you have the zip code. When you click go, you are going to get the actual numbered census geography for that address. And this is a really handy feature. It's not new. It was on the old American FactFinder too. Very useful to people writing grant applications for, let's say, a community center that takes in the neighborhood. They've got the address of the community center. They want to know, and that's their service area, let's say. So they want to know what census tract it's in or what block group it's in. And what comes up are links, actually, on the left side. These are hyperlinks. And on the right side, the geography type. So you can see that the White House is in block 2013, block group 2, census tract 66.02, District of Columbia, District of Columbia. And if I clicked on that link, it actually would pull up some data products that were available, and I could actually find data on that particular block. Now, it would only be census data because the census is the only program that will produce data down to the block level. American Community Survey will go to the block group level on our download site and to the census tract level on American FactFinder, and higher, of course, on American FactFinder. And lastly, you can click the Map tab if you want to use it to zoom in to a place. It comes up with a default map of the United States, so it seems kind of awkward as a way to start a search, but sometimes it's the only thing that's available to people, so in terms of their knowledge of what they're looking for. Okay, so that was the geographies filter bar. Now I'm moving down to the population groups, or what we call race and ethnic groups now, I think is the name of it. And it functions the same way as the geography overlay. It just lays over the data results that are behind it. And people may not want to pick a population group. There's no need to do so. And lastly, the industry codes bar. Again, it's an overlay, and they may not be looking for business data. This is from our economic census, and if they're only concerned with demographic information, again, they don't have to make a choice of an industry code. I think that you'll find that the topics bar is the one that's used the most, and geographies, of course. What you'll notice if you haven't used the new American FactFinder is that you can do your steps in any order on the new American FactFinder, whereas the old system guided you. You had to pick a program. You had to pick either Decennial Census or American Community Survey, let's say, and within that program you picked a data set. What year did you want of the census? What summary file did you want? Or in American Community Survey, what year did you want? And did you want 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year estimates? Here, you are not guided that way. Here, you just start where you want to start and work your way through. And that turns out to be baffling to people who are very used to the old system. But again, a lot more functionality involved here. Okay, once I've made all my choices and want to pull up what I've selected, and here I have a table C06003, place of birth by sex in the United States. And it's from the 2005 to 2007 American Community Survey 3-year estimates. Okay. American Community Survey, you're always going to get an estimate, and to the right of it you're going to have a column that gives you the margin of error. Because it is a survey, it's not 100% count the way a census is. So sample size and response rates have a lot to do with the reliability of the information. And we implore data users to look at those margins of error. They don't have to be statisticians to figure out that some of these are fine, some of them are not so fine in terms of their reliability. We are going to put an estimate in each data cell. So it doesn't mean that just because there's a number there that it's a good number. And so you're probably aware of that from having worked with the American Community Survey. But here we're getting into some of the new features on American FactFinder. And I've got a box around one modify table that I'm using a lot already. It's very handy. But also you can bookmark or you can save a query. And you can download the data like you could from the old one. And when you have the create a thematic map highlighted, that is the link is active, then you can actually make a map from this particular table. So, okay, we will move on. When I click on Modify Table, it changes the look of the table, and you see some symbols there in the row below the estimate and the margin of error, and also over in the first column where you can collapse or expand columns. On the rows, you can move them left or right. You also have the ability on some tables to filter the results. And you have some choices there, greater than, less than, greater or equal to, and you can actually enter your own number there. You can hide the columns and rows, you can reorder them, you can reset the table, so there's a lot of functionality here. You also can transpose the rows and columns, which is really, really useful. So on from modifying the table. Then create a thematic map, and I've opened up a few things here that's covered up my map, but some caveats there at the top. As with the old American FactFinder, you can only map one theme at a time. So if you want to map the population of a county by census tract, that's going to be your theme. You can't add anything to that theme. And you have to have at least 2 of the same level geographies in order to map, because the maps are really a device to make comparisons. But over on the left, you'll see the legend and what's available there. A lot of it like the old one, the old American FactFinder. You have your data classes and colors that you can change. And I've opened that up because the default number of classes is 5, and it's a natural break method, but you can do user defined, and that's handy again for grant applications. If there's a threshold for something, you actually could map it out. You can have 2 data classes, you can have up to 7. And what you do is you'd fill in the number in the right column, and it would autofill the left. And here they've taken the lowest value represented by the map and the highest, and that's autofilled. So that's very handy for some purposes. Boundaries and features you can select and deselect just as in the old maps. You can find a location and you can put in map markers, and those are new. And you have some tools at the top that you didn't have before. Here I've used that I identify button, and what it pulls up, I've got a little marker there on kind of where Seattle is, and what it's giving me is census geography and the population of the state of Washington. You have a 15-level zoom. You also can zoom into the state. Or you can get the U.S. view. You can also get on some maps that you create statistically significant differences between 2 geographies and their data that you're mapping, and you can print. And you can also pan from this. We have had some issues with the mapping tools, not just the tools, the whole map feature. We're working on those a lot right now, and headquarters, our American FactFinder staff back there, is spending a lot of time on getting enhancements ready for the next push, which I think will be April. So now we've gotten to the exercise, and I chose to find the most current information on the percentage of people in Issaquah, Washington with bachelor's degrees. And here I stuck in an asterisk because I wanted you to know why I picked the 3-year estimates. And it's because the population of Issaquah, which is growing by leaps and bounds, it grew 171% from 2000 to 2010, but it still doesn't have 65,000 people. So I could either get a 3-year estimate or a 5-year estimate. And the most current of those two would be a 3-year, because 2 of the years in a 5-year estimate are going to be even older. So that's the reason for my choice on that. One thing I didn't mention when I was talking American Community Survey, and this would be for the more novice among you of ACS or American Community Survey users, the city of Seattle, which has over 65,000 people, every year will get 3 estimates. They'll get the 1-year, the 3-year, and the 5-year. So Issaquah, which has over 30,000 people now, will get the 3-year and the 5-year. So you qualify for the one where you meet the population threshold and anything below it if there is one. Okay, so I'm moving on. To begin, I've opened the American FactFinder page, and then I've opened the topics bar. And I've got 2 different things going here, 2 steps on one page. The topics bar, when I expand the term people, and notice at the same level of people would be housing down below, business and industry, year, and so on, if I could move that scroll bar down. So I've expanded people, and I picked education. Okay, and notice my search results pane is right there. I haven't made any selections. When I expand education, I'm looking on the right side now. I've got 5 choices available. And bachelor's degree would fall in the topic educational attainment. So I click on that. And that appears up in the Your Selections box. So I'm done with topics, and now I go to geographies. And the simplest way to do this is to type in Issaquah, and you'll see Issaquah City, as opposed to if there were a census designated place with the name Issaquah. So I'll start typing Issaquah, and generally the word city will appear. And then the state, Washington. And then I will look down in the geography results. I have to click go, and then down in the geography results, it will come up, Issaquah City. Now notice up until this point, it's not up in the Your Selections box. It is in the geography filters result, but until I select it in the geography results pane, and I can do that one of 2 ways. I can put a check in the check box and then click the add that's above it that will become active. The minute I put a check in the check box, it will activate that add. And that has an arrow pointing to the northwest corner of the page. We're northwest, so that's always easy for us to remember. That moves it up, and actually now in the new enhancement you can see it moving. So it just kind of flashes in front of your eyes. Once it appears up in your selections, then you can go over and close the geography box. You can make as many as 3 selections on this one. On the geography results page, you can make many, many selections, up to 10,000. So you're not going to do that on this. But the other way you could do it is clicking on the hyperlink. You could just click on the words Issaquah City, since you're only making 1 selection, and it would also appear up there. But before you close this geographies overlay, make sure it's in the Your Selections box. Okay, and it is up there now. And then up pop the tables on educational attainment that would include Issaquah. So you'll notice there are no one-year estimates here. The 3-year estimates are what pop up, and then down below that would be the 5-year. So I want to pick educational attainment for the 3-year estimates, and I go ahead and check it and click View. On this particular search results pane, when you're actually picking your data products, you can only make 3 selections at a time. So that is a limitation here. Okay, then I'm going to show you a portion of the table view because I wanted you to be able to read this. So I just photoshopped a bit of it. But it shows the heading, Issaquah City, Washington, a total column, estimate and margin of error, pardon me, and then a division by gender, male or female, the estimate and the margin of error. Okay, 61.8% of all residents of Issaquah have a bachelor's degree, and the margin of error is expressed as a range plus or minus 3%. So it would be 61.8 plus 3, which would be 64.8, or 61.8 minus 3 would be 58.8. So that is a tolerable margin of error. So moving along here, if you have any data questions that you'd like to have answered as quickly as possible during business hours, Patty Farnham is still in the Seattle Regional Office. Now, this is the time that I tell you that the realignment that we're going through right now is going to result in the closing of 6 of our 12 regional offices, and Seattle's one of the 6 that are closing, unfortunately. So Patty will be there if she chooses not to go to another federal job before the end. She will be there till December of 2012. If she does leave and you call this phone number, you will be switched over to Patty's counterpart in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles region is taking our whole region intact, and our whole region is currently Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Northern California down through Santa Cruz County. So that is a sad part of what's going on. The service in Los Angeles is great. They're not as familiar with the geography here, but I'm sure they will learn quickly. They certainly know American FactFinder. But meanwhile, the fastest way to get an answer is to call Patty or write Patty. And also, I want to give you my number and my email. And one thing about emailing me is that I will answer emails on the weekend and at night if I'm near my computer. I'm happy to do that. I'm working from home now for the Los Angeles region, but my area is still the Northwest and Alaska. So you can call my BlackBerry, which is my mobile number here. I seldom have it on because I'm so afraid it's going to go off while I'm in a presentation. So, but I always check it many times a day. So any questions on this? Anything that I've covered? I know that Carolyn asked at the beginning about information for availability for workshops or webinars from both Washington and other states. Start with me. I will refer you to the appropriate region if you're out of our Northwest or California region. We also, Los Angeles has also picked up Nevada in this change and always had Hawaii. So there we are.
Thank you very much. And if anyone
You're welcome.
did thank yous and applause, and so people, this has been very informative. If you have questions at this point in time, you know, I guess Maria Elena does. So do you want to either chat it, put it in chat, Maria Elena, or do you want to use your mic? You can do either.
Linda, sorry, I muted your mic to stop the echo.
I'm good with that. I'll just look at chat and pop in when I see something for me.
Carolyn, are you trying to talk?
I forget to click Readers Advisory next week using Facebook, and we're using our colleagues at Multnomah Public Library will be doing this. They did an experiment using Facebook to access Readers Advisory. So, okay, Nona has said she was trying to follow along on an example, got all the filters set, but didn't see how she got to the actual table. She was switching. Oh, she was switching between screens. Linda, do you have any comments on that? Linda?
I can call her right when we disconnect if she gives me, or she can call me. Either way. Why don't I call her? Then I can call her from my landline, which I don't give out since it's my home phone. And I'll be happy to call and just walk her through step by step. It's very quick.
Unfortunately, for those of you who are still here, please answer this